we'd go up to Veely's Hill and in the summertime, or in wintertime we sled. In the summertime we'd go downtown Moline and find a cardboard box, a big one, and haul it up to Veely's Hill. And we'd use the cardboard box to get inside of it, and then somebody pushes over the hillside, and we go tumbling down the hillside, having all kinds of fun. Or we get a piece of cardboard and just sit on it, and then go down the hillside, because the grass would be matted down, and you could slide down like you'd be sledding, but only it'd be on grass. And it was pretty fun. You could really have fun doing that stuff. But one time we were hauling a big box, like a big refrigerator box, up the hill, and somebody on the other side of the box where I was, there was like four of us hauling the box up, and somebody on the other side said, "Hey, here's a pop bottle." And my brother Louis said, "Well, throw it up in the box." And so the guy on the other side threw the bottle up, hoping to get it in the box, because the box was open on top, but he didn't make it. It went over the box, and I was on the other side, and it hit me right in the head. It cut my head and hurt me, and I didn't like that. That was painful. And that same Veely's Hill, Sal was sliding down there in the wintertime in the sled, and I don't know where he ended up, but he hit a tree, and he broke his collarbone. But yeah, we go sliding over there in the wintertime a lot. That was a fun place to be. There's a statue up there in the flat area that we climb up on that statue, and with this man he's a statue of a man marching with a big rifle. I don't know, we've always found a way of getting up there and just hanging out up there. Sometimes we go down to Sylvan Island, what we call Mud Island. That was what we call Mud Island. And we play down there. There was a Tarzan swing down there, what we call a Tarzan swing, where you just rope hanging down from a tree and you just kind of swing out and back. And of course, my dad worked there up until they closed in 1956. He was there and working there. And in the summertime, Mom would tell us, "Hey boys, I want you guys to take your dad his lunch, because he didn't take his lunch this morning, and I made him some tacos." The original tacos, where you just put beans, maybe some meat, in a flour tortilla and fold them over, wrap them up in a dishcloth, and put them in his lunchbox. And we take him down to our dad, and we get down to the factory on the island, and ask where our dad was working, and they kind of guide us down, into the factory. We were allowed to go kind of a little ways into the factory, not too far, but just a little ways, and he'd be looking for us, and we hand him his lunchbox, and off we went back home. That was our thing to do. And
what was the name of the factory?
What's that?
What was the name of the factory?
Oh, the name of the factory was Republic Steel Corporation. Before that, I guess in the old days, it was Sylvan Steel Company. It was there since 1896, I believe. But my dad worked there 2 different times. I found a record of where he worked there in the 30s, and then didn't work there in the 40s until about late 40s, and then he worked from late 40s till the time they closed in 1956. So he was there 2 different times. He was usually a laborer, but I found a record where his job title was called, he was a finisher. Whatever a finisher is, maybe clean the slag off the steel, the finished product, but that's what he did. He worked down there, but we go down there and play, and I remember playing on this big slag pile that was always there, like cinders. I think it was cinders, and it was pretty high. And I'd climb up there, and it was just, I don't know why, we just thought we was having fun climbing up and it's probably hazardous to our health, but we didn't know any better back at that time. And we just go watch the guys fishing and just mess around on that island. It was just always fun to be there. do stuff. I guess my brother Joe told me recently that they try to make money by selling pop to the workers at the steel mill there. And my dad would, the day before, he'd stop at the ice factory there, just around the corner from the steel mill, and pick up a block of ice and put it in a cooler and bring it home. And then the next day, Sal and Joe would put pop in it, pop bottles, and about lunchtime they'd take their wagon with a cooler on it down to the steel mill and sell pop to the workers during the summer because it was so hot. And they tried to make a little money selling pop to the workers. I don't remember that, but I was told that's what they used to do. And we just went wherever we could find fun. I tried to get on a train once, and I did ride a little bit, but I didn't like it. And the guy I was with, he would jump on the train, hold on to the ladder that's on the side of the train, and he rode it all the way down to 1st Street in Moline, from about 9th Street to 1st Street. But it looked too scary. But looking back, I'm glad I was kind of a chicken on that, because a lot of people lost their lives, their legs and arms falling off the trains. Oh, another thing we found on the train tracks in the summertime was these cattle cars that they'd park down there. There was a lot of cars. They parked a lot of train cars down there. There was a lot of rails down there, a lot of trackage, and they put cars there along the siding. And we'd see these cattle cars down there. The cattle cars in them days, in the 50s, were used for hauling fruit from Texas up north, and we called them watermelon cars. And the reason we called them watermelon cars is because we found out that they were like hauling watermelon in these cattle cars. First they put straw down, then they'd load up the cattle car with watermelons, and then they'd, like from Texas, and they bring them up north, like to like a store chain, like Eagle Grocery was here. Maybe they brought it up to Eagle, who knows, and they offload them, the watermelons. Well, sometimes they wouldn't take all the watermelons out. They'd be lost in the straw. And we'd have to, when we saw a watermelon car, we'd go up there and climb inside of it and just start sifting through the straw that was used as a cushion for the watermelon, cushioning. And sometimes we'd find a watermelon or two in there. So some of them were broken, but some of them were whole. You know, and this is good. You know, we get our watermelon and go home with our watermelon. But that was really weird. But we call them watermelon cars for that purpose. I remember the neighborhood kid coming up to the house and says, "Hey," he says, "there's a watermelon car down there." Nope, that's all I need to hear. Off we went. I guess sometimes we didn't find watermelons, but it was still fun to look. And I went to St. Mary's School. That was just about a block and a half from our house, up the alley, down the street a little bit, and up to St. Mary's School. I went to St. Mary's School 8 years, and it was okay, I guess. They're pretty strict there. The nuns and the priests were kind of strict. But I think in 1951, I was coming home from school, and on 4th Avenue and 10th Street, I was crossing the street by myself, and I thought I could make it. I looked and I said, "Well, I can make it. I can run across fine." Well, I ran across the street, but I didn't make it. I got hit. I clipped by a car. Actually, I wasn't. In them days, they had these big fenders on them, and on these old cars. And I remember, being pushed, and I slid and landed on my hands, scraped my palms of my hands up. Lucky that happened to me, because got hit more solidly, I probably wouldn't be around today. But I do remember getting hit, and my school books went flying, and the man, he was a soldier on leave from the Army, and he stopped, I guess, just nervous as heck. I remember him smoking and just being nervous, and so he picked me up, gathered my books up, and took me to the police department. In them days, they didn't call 911, they just did things different. They took me to the police department, and from there, the policeman took over. He got a report from the soldier as to what happened, and then one of the policemen took me up to the hospital, Moline Public Hospital, to be examined. And they checked me out up there, and I remember going down into the elevator, getting ready to go home. The policeman was going to take me home, and he reached in his pocket and gave me, I think it was 10 cents, 2 nickels. And he said, "That's for being a brave boy." And so we went down, and we got in his car, and he brought me home and dropped me off. Went up to the house, told Mom what happened. I don't know if she was aware of it yet or not, but she told him, he told her what happened, and so I was home again. But I do remember that pretty clearly, but it wasn't as fast as I thought crossing the street. And then not too long after that, they put up a stoplight there. Probably because of that. But like I said, I went to school there 8 years, and we rarely ate in the lunchroom. They had a lunchroom, but we rarely ate there because it cost money, and besides we lived so close that we just come home for lunch. We get about 45 minutes for lunch, and we just scoot on home, and Mom would have something going, beans and eggs or something. Usually included beans though, and tortillas. And we'd eat our nice warm lunch and hang out for a little bit, then go back up to school and play, and until the bell rang, and then we go back into the afternoon classes. That was our routine pretty much for years. Yep, well, I remember one time Mom said, "Well, I'm not going to be home, so you're going to have to go to the lunchroom." And she gave me like a quarter. So I went to the lunchroom and got in line and paid my quarter, and I went through the lunch line with my tray, and I didn't recognize any food. I didn't recognize nothing. Because we were so used to eating at home, we didn't know about restaurant food or anything like that. We had no clue. I'd see the spaghetti. Now I know it's spaghetti, but at the time I said, "Oh, that don't look good." And I didn't get any. And so I come out of the lunch line, and I might have had one item on my tray because I had no idea what that food was. Just so foreign to us because we ate at home all the time.
Beans.
Once in a while, not very often, on a Sunday, Dad would say, "Hey," he said, I'm gonna get some hamburgers for us." Okay. So he'd send us boys up to Van's Lunch. Van's Lunch was on 11th Street and 5th Avenue. Just a little, dinky little restaurant. And they were open on Sunday. And they had a special on Sundays. 5 hamburgers for $1. So we go up there, and I don't know if we get maybe 10 hamburgers for the whole family. And there was 7 of us, 7 siblings and my mom and dad. And we get like $2 worth of hamburgers. But we had to be careful because the sacks would get greasy, and you have to hold them from the bottom because the oil would come out. Because they used to use wax paper in them days to wrap up the hamburgers. And I think the hamburgers were made on, not hamburger buns, I think they were on bread. But yeah, that was our treat, and before McDonald's and all that. That was in the early 50s. We just had our little hamburger, which we thought was fun. And we used to have a telephone when we first moved from Michigan. And then one day, Dad got upset about something. I don't have a clue what it was. But maybe because he thought Mom was on the phone or something too much. So I do remember him getting upset and then going over to the telephone and grabbing it and yank it out of the wall, the cord out of the wall, and put it down, and there, no more phone. And he made Mom cancel the telephone service. We had party line back then. We pick up the phone and somebody might be, you had to share our line with somebody. Maybe somebody else was on the line. You couldn't make a phone call unless it was clear. Like if somebody else on that party line was talking, you hung up and waited for a while and then tried it again. That was what's called a party line. It was cheaper. And then after a couple of years, we found out that we really needed a phone, so we got a phone again. And but in that time that we didn't have a phone, when we had to make phone calls, Mom would give us a dime and said, go up to the phone booth up by Van's Lunch and call whoever you need to call for whatever reason. I don't remember, but that was how we used to have to make our calls from the phone booth about 2 blocks away. But then once we got a phone again, we were happy again, and it was kind of fun having our phone. But Dad was kind of the way he was. He had his days when he could be nice, and other days when it was a little traumatic. But he did buy us 2 air conditioners. This is like the mid-50s, maybe toward the late 50s. We had 2 air conditioners, window air conditioners, and in 2 different rooms. And the only problem with the air conditioners is that he wouldn't let us use them. I don't know why he bought them, but he, like on a Sunday or something, when he was home watching a football game or a baseball game, maybe turn it on for a little while and then turn it off. But when he'd be gone to work and it was hot in the summertime, we'd go over there and turn on the air conditioners. And it was about 3:30 when he'd get off of work, we'd have to turn them off because he was going to be coming home. We never did really understand why he ever really bought air conditioners, but I don't know why. Somebody must have talked him into it, I guess. He was kind of the guy that people could talk him into stuff, like salesmen could talk him into stuff. It was kind of strange. He also bought a TV, a black and white TV, about 19-inch screen, and it was called Space Command. It was like a remote control. It had 3 or 4 buttons, on and off, and the channel, one way up or down. And at the time there was only 2 channels, 2 stations anyway, back in them days, channel 6 and channel 4. But it was really neat because the TV, you didn't have to go up to the TV, you just stay back and push the button. And you hear a loud click, 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 and that would change your channel, but we really didn't even need that, but somebody must have talked them into getting that too. Space Command, Zenith Space Command. And sometimes we play marbles. Back in those days, kids played marbles. So my brothers were pretty good at marbles. I was not too good at it, but the way you play marbles, you find a dirt spot and you make a circle, grab a stick and make a circle, and then throw your marbles in, and the opponent would throw his marbles in too, and then you take turns using your thumb to shoot the marbles out of your hand and try to knock the other opponent's marbles out. And if you hit the opponent's marbles and they come out of the circle, you get to keep that marble. And some of the neighborhood kids would come over with their marbles, and we'd play marbles against each other. And if you're good enough, you ended up with your opponent's marbles. That was kind of fun. We had our games. We had some bicycles we rode, and we was always doing something.